and welcome to the latest episode of Dynamic Duos, and today I'm joined by Stuart Miller, Director at the Civil Engineering Contractors Association, otherwise known as CECA, and Lyndsey Boagey, who is Commercial Manager at Mott MacDonald Bentley, and Lyndsey is also a newly appointed board member at CECA. So Stuart and Lyndsey, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your roles? Stuart, I'll ask you a little bit about your role as Director at CECA and why you enjoy working in the built environment.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm Regional Director with CECA. I've worked here about 9 years. I love the job, I've got to say. I love working in the construction built environment sector, particularly referencing civil engineering, which I didn't know too much about before I started, but we'll sort of use civil engineering and infrastructure as a sort of interchangeable term. So CECA's members build around about 80% of the structures and civil engineering jobs that occur across the UK every year. Why do I like it? Well, there's variety. I suppose everybody says that as far as the job's concerned, but genuinely there is. I get to talk with everyday small companies, subcontractors, large companies, national tier one, main contractors. I hear about all sorts of both problems and opportunities in the sector. We'll talk widely about things like skills, about training, about health and safety. I have a lot of interaction with clients in the sector, which I'll talk about a bit more in more detail. But ultimately, it feels like CECA is a sort of a thriving part of the northeast built environment sort of sector, and it feels great to be in the middle of that.
Excellent. And what about you, Lyndsey? So do you want to tell us a little bit about your role at Mott MacDonald Bentley and then a little bit about why you wanted to become a board member at CECA?
Well, firstly, I've never done a podcast before, so this is a first for me. So thank you for having us. I also don't think I've ever been part of a dynamic duo before, so I really do hope we are. Yeah, we are dynamic. So yeah, I actually feel a bit nervous. So yeah, I tend to talk a lot. So yeah, work for Mott MacDonald Bentley, and I'm a commercial manager. I started as a QS. Actually, didn't mean to get into industry, fell into it by accident. I did a law degree. At one point, I wanted to write for Vogue. And then my law teacher at college said to me, Lyndsey, you're really good at law, why don't you go and study that? So that's what I did. I went and studied law. And yeah, after I graduated, I ended up working in an oil and gas company that was local in the town of Hartlepool, and I got put in the commercial department. So that's what opened my eyes to QSing. So that's where my career started, and it was literally completely by accident. I had a great set of parents that encouraged me to do whatever I wanted to do, and they always supported me. And yeah, I ended up here. Working for MMB. So yeah, I started as a QS with MMB and went on maternity leave and came back, and I'd been back for probably about 9 months, and I was promoted into the commercial manager's position. Okay. So yeah, I was really pleased and I absolutely love it. I love the job. I love the industry. I just think it's a really exciting place to be. There's literally not a single day that is the same. It's always different. I like the people side of things. I like being able to speak to people. I like, you know, the teamwork side of things, being part of a team, being part of something and building something that's, you know, really quite exciting. Seeing different things on the day-to-day, it's just a really great place to work and a great industry to be in.
Agree.
So how did you become involved in CECA and also becoming appointed onto the board?
So CECA, obviously, everybody in industry, I think, is probably aware of CECA. It is really highly regarded. So I was at the CECA dinner, actually, and I thought, actually, I think I would quite like to be involved in this after being at CECA dinners for a few years. And so I approached CECA, and Ross Markwell was the chair, and I knew Ross because we'd worked together in the past, and I said, actually, Ross, I think I'd quite like to be involved in this. Like, how do I go about it?
Which is brilliant. Yeah. We need proactive members who want to be involved in directing both what CECA does and sort of playing the tune to what industry wants as well and how to respond to challenges of industry. So it was great that Lyndsey wanted to get involved.
What are the key areas for CECA, Stuart?
CECA operates 5 core pillars, if you like, of activity. I'll quickly list them: skills and training, careers and recruitment, health, safety and well-being, clients, policy and workload, and sustainability and social value. So underneath those 5 core pillars, what we're trying to do is basically make the industry better for our members, for wider stakeholders, and ultimately for you and I, people in society. We do a really important job for society in building infrastructure. So we want to make sure that things like, the right infrastructure is built at the right time in the right place, for the right money, that creates the right sort of value for society as well.
And you touched on previously the opportunities for your members and also some of the issues that they face. So what are those key opportunities that you're seeing within the built environment, and also the issues as well?
Opportunities for CECA members?
Yeah.
So CECA members are contractors. That's important because within the built environment you've got lots of different people, but the 3 sort of main parties: contractors, sort of clients, and then sort of designers stroke consultants. So we really focus our activities on what the contractors do. What opportunities are there for contractors? Well, really at the moment, really since COVID, so we're talking sort of 5-6 years plus, I think, Lyndsey, you'd probably agree, it's been a good time for contractors generally. Successive governments from the last administration to the current administration appear to want to invest in infrastructure and spend money on the built environment. It's essential for society's needs. So, for example, Northumbrian Water are spending in this asset management period around about double what they've spent previously. We expect some of the large clients, like particularly Environment Agency, to spend quite a lot of money in the local area. Local authority clients are obviously investing in the built environment. The housing market's probably getting back to strength where it wasn't previously. And it's really important. I mean, I think, previous administrations used the term sort of build to drive ourselves in terms of the economy out of economically difficult times. So this sector is really important. We employ a lot of people, we train a lot of people, and the opportunities for civils contractors, I think, are pretty healthy at the moment, albeit there's been a bit of a lull with the change of government recently, and that's probably caused a little bit of a dip, but we're hoping that recovers quite quickly.
There's a lot of great things as well that, you can get out of CECA. So things like where you do the contract days where people come in and you can give back, so it's the skills and the upskilling of training. So a lot of my QS team have come along, and myself, to the events. So there's one coming up, isn't there, shortly at Lumley Castle. So they're looking at health and safety, looking at contractual, so helping to upskill and train contractors that are in the arena.
Yeah, we'll run a ever-present mock trial every year, which again, as Lyndsey mentioned, this year is at Lumley Castle, and it appears to be still popular with members. It's a good training aid for anybody who hasn't been. I'm not trying to sell it, but actually most of the time when people come, they walk out and say, do you know what, loads more people from my company should have been here today, because this is all really interesting stuff. Unfortunately, the subject matter is not usually cheery, because it's usually some issue around a kind of a made up but a difficultly on site, a fatality or whatever. But the idea is CECA upskills members to know what to do in these circumstances and how to really prevention better than cure. So how to avoid these circumstances happening in the first place.
And can you give an overview of the member base within CECA? Who have you got in there? Which organisations?
Okay. Names or just a general?
Just a general overview, yeah.
Okay. So I said at the start, and this is important because our board, first of all, of which you referenced, Lyndsey's just joined, is made up around about 50-50 split of large national contractors and smaller, more regional contractors and subcontractors, and that's really important for the dynamic of the industry. We need to understand how the whole industry is operating together and how all those relationships work together.
Representation as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So we like to try and really be proactive about that. So the CECA's board is constituted from a wide variety across the sector. The second thing to probably mention as far as CECA members is concerned is that's replicated throughout the wider membership. So around about half of CECA North East's members are regional and smaller contractors and subcontractors, and round about half are larger national main contractors, principal contractors. We pretty much think that most of the people who would expect to be CECA members are CECA members. So there's a really good representation. People who work in the water sector, in highways sector, in aviation, in flood defences, the marine sector. There's some specialist contractors in there. There's some general contractors in there. There's a really, really good spread.
Excellent. And Lyndsey, what are you really passionate about? What do you want to take to the board, and what do you want to sort of move forward with in the coming years?
So I mean, one of the reasons that I wanted to be involved in CECA is because of the core pillars. So in particular, the careers and recruitment and the skills and training side of things. So that's where my passion lies. It's the younger generation in trying to encourage them to come into industry, because as I've said, I genuinely think it is a really, really great and exciting place to work, and we need to get that message out there to people to say, you know, there's a place for you here. Come and work in industry. It is fantastic. So that's really where my passion lies. I like to be able to develop people and see people making that journey. You know, you're part and parcel of that. You can bring somebody in and help them get here, and then see them thrive. There's lots of career opportunities for people and progression. And you know, I'm a prime example of that. I've started and progressed my way through to a senior management position. So yeah, for me in particular, I am very, very passionate around that area, because it's a really great place.
I've got to tell a quick story here, Lyndsey, because Lyndsey is really passionate about working in the industry, and I think you are, about your day-to-day job. And we upstairs in here today have got somebody doing some research for us, doing a research project for us for this week. And I introduced Lyndsey and Charlotte to each other this morning. And I walked in 20 minutes later, and I think they were 15 minutes into an interview for Charlotte's job in the industry. They were like, "Come and work in this industry. Come and be a QS," which is brilliant. And I could see Charlotte, really responding to that. But Lyndsey's a brilliant ambassador for flying the flag, for working in this sector, and promoting, as you've just said, a place for everyone, opportunities for everyone, sort of thing.
I just don't know why people wouldn't want to come and work in the industry, because it really is exciting. There's lots going on, and there's plenty of work there as well. So, you know, there's job security.
How hard is it to attract and retain people then within the industry? How are you finding that across the members and within your company, Lyndsey?
Do you want to take that first, or do you want
me? I can do, yeah. So I think every sector that I can think of struggles to attract all of the people that they want at the moment, whether that's banking, IT, human resources, whatever it might be. But it seems to me that CECA members have become really adept at attracting certain types of people. They've really got their eye on the ball. So anecdotally, people were talking to me the other day about, attracting sort of apprentices in quantity surveying and engineering. Whilst it's not easy, I think these are careers where more people seem to want to work in these sectors these days. It's a bit more, there's a bit more understanding out there. However, I don't think anybody would say it's a piece of cake. There's still challenges around it. But I think the applications that most CECA members get seem to be pretty high. I think the shortages in different areas that really probably come to a head. Estimators, planners, document controllers, all sorts of jobs I could name. Lyndsey's probably adding a few more to that list now as we talk. But I think the big area for us across CECA members is probably whether you call people ground workers, general operatives, sort of gangs, that sort of thing. It's difficult to try and encapsulate what those jobs are, what the opportunities are for those people, the training they've got to undertake to get into those roles, and almost you only know it when you're in it, when you're doing it, unless you've got a family member who can sort of bring you along that line. So I think that's an area where there probably are real challenges to recruit enough people.
To take that a little bit further, a lot of the time you ask people and you say, why did you want to come into industry? And it is exactly that. It's family members. family members have introduced them to it. So that's why things like STEM are so important. So obviously CECA Foundations Group go out and they go into schools. A lot of employers will go out and send their own STEM ambassadors out into school to get that message out there to, you know, why it's important and what industry has to offer and why it's a great career path. So, you know, as an industry, we're responsible for doing that to bring the next generation through. Now, from a point of view of getting people in, the difficulties actually from an apprenticeship point of view, when we opened our apprenticeship applications this year, we had a lot of applicants, far outweighed the amount of jobs that there was available, which is a shame because when there's so many people there that are wanting to get involved in industry, you know.
Yeah, we kind of don't want to turn anybody away, do we? Yeah.
When they're all, and you know, it was a real high standard, and it's not nice like having to turn somebody away, especially when they're so early in the career. So, you know, if at any point anyone does get turned away, you know, keep going because there is opportunities there. You will find the right opportunity. But a struggle for us probably is where it's finding that middle level as well. So certainly from a commercial point of view, like I said, there's a lot of people that wanting to come into industry a bit more now. But finding that middle level QS is probably that bit more challenging.
Why is that, do you think?
There's lesser of them, it seems. Right. You've kind of got to go in with an open mind and maybe look at other industries. And, you know, someone can be a QS in house building. Can they come and work in water? Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and sometimes I think, you know, people are quick to dismiss that because they think, oh, well, you know, that's where their specialism is. But actually, you know, it's transferable. The skills are transferable.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I'm talking from a commercial point of view here, but, you know, I think you've kind of got to keep an open mind in any, probably job role and say, you know.
I don't know what, I'm just thinking of a particular person who we were both referencing this morning, Lyndsey, who you've recruited from out of the industry, who didn't have experience in the construction sector, but who has proved to be a really good commercial person. So I think what CECA members, include Lyndsey's company, have done is worked out, you know, some of the raw talent that's good for our industry can be found in other sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Particularly the commercial skills,
And where do you see the sector in 10 years' time? What will have changed?
That's the question we, I think, have the most difficulty with. Do you want to go first or do you want me to have a go?
I can go if you want me
Go on then.
Things change all of the time. I think it's going to look vastly different probably what it does now. I mean, what it looked like 10 years ago. Oh, God, how long have I been in industry? I wouldn't like to count because that might give my age away. But, you know, it comes on, like when I started in oil and gas. That industry isn't as booming as it first was when I first started. I've now moved into the sector of water, which is a booming industry. And I think that will probably continue to boom because there's always going to be a need to, you know, build new assets, maintain assets, etc. But things change and technology changes. So at the minute, AI, you know, modern technology, sustainability, carbon, net zero, all that, you know, it's all getting talked about. It's a big thing. So construction companies have to probably keep up with technology as it's changing. So I think we'll see it evolve the way that, you know, what it looks like now will probably look different just with the tools we might use to you know, to build or to use. And I think it can only enhance it. We've got some pretty snazzy like models where you can go and you can walk about and not have to walk about on site. Not that I would ever not want to walk about on site actually, because I enjoy really walking about on site. But if there was a point where for whatever reason, because I don't know, I'd broke my leg or something at home, I could still physically walk the site without walking the site. Technology, it's amazing. So I do think industry will shift and people will start to embrace these different technologies as the years go on.
What about yourself, Stuart? Where do you see the sector in 10 years?
I mean, everything Lyndsey said, dead right. I think there's a few sort of mega trends, shall we call them, societal sort of mega trends that affect our industry. Digital, obviously, as Lyndsey's referenced. Decarbonisation, obviously. Climate change, obviously. If we just pick those three, what do they present? I think they present enormous opportunities and enormous challenges as well. The other one, which I wouldn't call a mega trend, but I'd say is a both an opportunity and challenge, is productivity in the industry, because largely we still do things the way they have pretty much always been done. Of course, there's pockets of great innovation, there's product developments, there's innovations in how machines operate and fuels that are being used and that sort of thing. But, you know, if I was selling it, the industry, which I am, I would say no matter who you are and what your strengths are, if you're somebody in school leaving age at the moment, this industry presents so many opportunities because we're solving problems for society and global society day in, day out. So what will the industry look like? What's really hard, isn't it? You see these predictions that people make like 10 years ago, we'll all be in flying cars or whatever. And that sort of thing. Yeah. Who quite knows? But I think there'll certainly be a move away from obviously using so much carbon in the industry. So we're going to have to innovate products that use less carbon. We're going to have to probably spend more time repairing and doing remediation to infrastructure rather than building new infrastructure as much, probably. Products will change massively in terms of what's used and how it's used. And I think I referenced productivity a little while ago. Definitely will change the way we do things. That will involve different, probably procurement models, different relationships between clients, contractors, designers, consultants. I think we'll do things more efficiently, which is a great challenge to make happen. I'll just say one more quick point, which is somebody I was talking to the other day referenced two industries, the automotive sector and the airline sort of sector, the aviation sector, as industries that have really, really worked together collaboratively to solve the problems of that industry. I.e., thankfully, we build much safer aeroplanes now than we ever have done. Why? Because the global resources got together and said, we've got to get this, that has to change. How do we build cars more efficiently than we ever have done? Again, there was a similar shift. And I could see similar sorts of things potentially happening in the construction industry, where there is a real race to innovate and develop. So mega opportunities for people who want to work in this industry.
And it can drive best value as well for clients, innovations. And that's something that's probably at the forefront of everybody's minds because, contractors want to deliver best value.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Contractors, clients want, a really good value product. So innovation, I think, it is at the forefront of people's minds. So there's a lot, and it's exciting space.
Yeah.
One thing that you touched on, Stuart, was procurement. So how is CECA sort of representing its members when it comes to fair payment and procurement? What are the key issues around that at the moment?
I knew we couldn't have a conversation without procurement coming up. It's an ever-present issue that will constantly try and refine how clients procure construction. CECA tries to work collaboratively with contractors, with clients to get to basically oil the wheels of procurement. What we want to see, you mentioned fairness, we want to see fairness. Of course, payment comes into that. I would say the payment issue is probably, I would never say it's solved, but it's probably a bit less acute of a problem than it maybe was 10 years ago when I first joined CECA, 9 years ago when I first joined. But certainly creating value through the procurement process is much more about what we're trying to develop that message. What does that mean? That means we're trying to encourage clients not to just go cheapest is best, because cheapest is best as a mantra doesn't really work for anybody. It probably doesn't work for the assets end user. It certainly doesn't work for the contractor through the construction process, or it might in the short term, but ultimately it just brings risk into the process for everybody. So we're much more about trying to drive, value in procurement so that everybody gets ultimately what they want from the asset at the end of the process. And we work really closely with clients to try and I think Lyndsey would probably agree. The secret to hopefully all of this is getting contractors involved early on in the process so that it's not just coming in at the end and having to do what somebody else thought was a great idea, but isn't the buildability isn't there, sort of thing. So if there was one message, it's just get contractors involved really early on.
I agree. I'd second that.
And finally, what's next in the year for CECA? What have you got coming up?
We have a board meeting coming up shortly, which will be Lyndsey's second board meeting, and that ties in with a couple of different things. So our annual general meeting, I go cold with a shiver down my spine when I refer to AGMs, but it's part of the way we operate and the way we do things. It ensures proprietary in terms of CECA's operations. That's coming up on the 6th of June, and we're tying that in with a members' meeting. So we're going to hear from both the North East Combined Authority and the Tees Valley Combined Authority on their plans for infrastructure investment across the next sort of 5-10 year period, which is great because they've both got loads of money to spend on investment in infrastructure. We've obviously got later on in June the mock trial that we talked about earlier on, and then our programme of sort of training that Lyndsey talked about earlier on for sort of legal training shuts down a little bit over the summer for obvious reasons, because we'll just find that the drop-off rate, and then we'll start to ramp up towards November to the sort of showpiece event of the year for us, which is our awards and annual dinner. The dinner's important because it's the bit where I guess we get everybody together and everyone celebrates. Contractors, CECA members, clients. They all bring the clients out and their design teams and whatever. We all get together and celebrate what's good in the industry. Yeah. We'll celebrate the trainees that have won awards. We'll celebrate environmental awards, health and safety awards, and all that sort of thing. So the awards bit for us is really, really important.
Of the year. Yeah. And Stuart, there's been a range of changes to the CECA board. So can you just tell us a little bit about that? Who's sort of moving in and who's moving out?
Yeah. So there's been 4 new board appointments really recently at CECA North East, which is great. So Northumbrian Roads are a long-standing board member, and they've had a sort of replacement, a like-for-like replacement, which has been excellent. So Stephen Grimes joined the board from Northumbrian Roads. And then we've had Lyndsey, who's next to me, joining to represent Mott MacDonald Bentley, which is brilliant. And as Lyndsey mentioned earlier on, she's been really proactive in wanting to get involved with CECA. Yeah. Actually, as have the other 2 who've just joined recently. So Meldrum Group have appointed Ian Glasinski, who's Meldrum's commercial director. And then we've got one of the smaller subcontractors, MSF, Mason Street Furniture. Mark Atkinson, a director from there, has just joined our board. So we've had some new people, some new companies represented around that table, which is great. As far as other things are concerned, our current chair, that chair position rotates every 2 years. Ross Markwell, who's a director with Esh Group, will now finish his chairmanship and be replaced by Dan Hutton, who's a director with MGL Group. Yeah. Ross will stay on CECA's North East board, but also joins what we'll call internally CECA's Chairs Strategic Forum, where he'll chair that group of people. This is a really important point because all CECA members have that member representation across all regions of the England, Scotland and Wales. So Ross will chair that group, which is really the member chairs from each region. Really important because that really tells us the sort of the golden threads running through what CECA's activities are, because we hear from through the Chairs Strategic Forum. So it's really good that we'll have a local person for the North East chairing that national group.
Yeah. And Kate Lloyd, she's got a national role in CECA, is that right? She's not directly involved in the North East, but she's got a...
It is, yeah. So Kate Lloyd has recently joined the CECA team. She lives in the North East, but works on a national basis. And she looks after what CECA calls our core. We have core pillars and we have core groups. So those groups are for all CECA members to get involved in. So currently Kate's main focus is the health and safety core group, although Kate will be involved in going forward with this environmental core group. This is the forum where members across the UK get the chance to feed in what the kind of issues are and point CECA in the direction of what CECA should be doing to respond to the issues and challenges around those core groups. So yeah, the North East is going from strength to strength, I think, from a
busy
CECA point of view.
for the board. So moving away from work, what do you like to do sort of in your leisure and downtime? Lyndsey, what about you? What do you get up to?
I've just made a joke. I don't think I get much downtime. I've got a 3-year-old at home. She's nearly 4 and she's the light of my life, I've said previously. And to be quite honest, I just like knocking about with her. I do. I really enjoy her company. But yeah, I don't work a Friday. I work a 4-day week. So on a Friday, I have a couple of friends who've got children of a similar age. So we'll go out and we have what's called a girls' day, and we'll go all over the place. And I love a lot of places in the northeast. There's some great places to go. So one of our favourite places where we went at the weekend actually was South Shields.
Oh, right, whereabouts?
We just go and I'd have a walk down the beach, and we like Ocean Beach, where you have she loves the waltzes, as do I. So yeah, we like doing things. I like seeing my friends. I like eating at some of the nice restaurants around the area. But yeah, I like knocking about with Ada. And I should probably also mention my husband, because he's probably going to watch this at some point and listen to it and be like, well, you didn't mention me, but you mentioned Ada. So yeah, he's all right and all.
What about you, Stuart? What do you get up to?
Yeah, so again, from a family perspective, wife and 2 kids, although not kids anymore. So they both work in the industry. So my son is a apprentice civil engineer.
Right.
Loving his life. I think he thinks it's great. He really enjoys the work that he does on site. And my daughter she's finished an apprenticeship, but works in bid management and business development, again in the civil engineering sector. Loves it. It's funny you mentioned Ocean Beach there, because it's a different Ocean Beach that I'm thinking of. So she's just come back from Ibiza, the Ocean Beach in Ibiza. And so I hear some of the stories from what goes on there. Personally, I mean, I spend me sort of free time either playing golf or playing football or playing paddle, tennis. That's kind of, and when my wife's listening to this, she's going to be just dismayed, thinking all he talks about is golf, footy and paddle.
Do you not run anymore?
Probably right. I don't really run anymore after I had an injury, so I don't do it too much. But I need to get back towards running a bit more, because I've done a few half marathons and a couple of triathlons in my time when I was about 4 stone lighter a few years ago. But yeah, kind of competitive sport is what I love to do.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thanks very much for being guests on the podcast, and look forward to working with you both throughout the year.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Lyndsey.
I hope we were dynamic.